All right, everyone. Finally made it. Luck. Snowy Friday afternoon here in Michigan on April 17th. Good Lord. I was really hoping not to get as much snow as we did, but that was just wishful thinking, I guess, on my part. But hey, at least I didn't have to drive in it today. How's everybody doing today? Hope you guys are still safe, still healthy out there. Maybe you guys are enjoying watching the snow as it's kind of a change of pace from what we've been having to deal with the last weeks. I know some people are excited about the snow. I'm not. I am so done with winter. I don't know about you guys, but Mr. G's done with it. But it is kind of nice to watch. It makes everything look pretty outside, I suppose. But hope you guys are doing well. And hopefully you guys were able to pick, those of you that needed to pick up a Chromebook, were able to pick one up today. So that way you guys will be able to access it to be able to use for distance learning that we will start doing on Monday. My hope is that over the next couple days in the mail, you guys will be receiving mailings from the ISD as to learning packets that I was able, with the help of our school secretary, to be able to put together. And hopefully you guys will get that, whether it's with the mailing coming up by Monday or for sure during next week. I'm going to try to keep it very simple next week if we don't have all our resources in place. I'm going to be posting a lot of things on Class Dojo. So families, it'll be very important that not only yourself, but your student is also hooked into Dojo with their own student account, as I will be posting short lesson videos there. I'll be posting activities on there, whether it's in the classroom stories, and then creating assignments through the student portfolios that students can then respond to the classroom stories, whether it's a worksheet that I've posted there or a short mini lesson video. I also posted onto the messages that I am starting a Flipgrid page, which is a platform that educators can use to make short videos. It's a little bit longer than what I could do on Dojo, and I'm going to be using that for a lot of my short lessons. And it's also a way that students can also respond through videos there also, but I'll be posting links to those Flipgrids starting next week. And like I said, this is kind of the beta phase. We're going to be testing everything. Oh, sweet, Zach, you made it. Awesome. I saw your story that you shared on our page with your art project. That stained glass window, that looks really cool. I wish I was doing something creative like that. Unfortunately, I've had to be creative in other ways. Mostly it's how to teach you guys, because it's all new. I'm hoping that I could find some time where I could start drawing again. That would be nice. Maybe I could post some of my drawings if I end up doing any. Oh, yeah, you're welcome, Zach. That's an ambitious project that you got going on. Hopefully you'll be able to get back to it. I know your mom shared that you guys were hoping for it to stay warm, and now it's cold again and it's snowing, and that's been kind of holding you up from continuing it, but that's really cool that you guys are doing that. Keep posting us updates on that. I would love to continue seeing work in progress videos. That's pretty awesome. I know I'm going to be sharing once my plants start looking like that they're starting to grow some more. I'll kind of give an update on my plants. Oh, what did I say about Zoom? I knew you said something about Zoom. I am looking into Zoom, Zach. I am right now waiting for my roommate to get done with work today, and they're going to help me figure out Zoom. Maybe next week I can be able to do like a hangout on there where all of us can get together and we can kind of catch up. But it'll be next week, Zach, so you haven't missed anything about the Zoom yet. I have to continue researching. It's a new beast for me, so I got to learn it. Got to learn how to set one up. And I think there's a lot of techie security settings that I need to work on because I want to make sure that, only those that are supposed to be there get access to it. I've been hearing some kind of horror stories of some teachers using it and people that aren't supposed to be getting in and doing not so good stuff. Yeah, I'm sure you're not the only one, Zach. I know one of your classmates also asked about Zoom because they miss seeing their friends. So you're not alone in that situation at all. I think all of us kind of want to be able to see each other again. I know I'm getting kind of tired of just seeing my same roommates every day. All right. While we get to what y'all came for, next couple chapters of Poached. We had a lot happen yesterday when I read. Basically, we had Ben get chased all over Fun Jungle because Marge wanted to bust him for the prank that he pulled and thought that he was in league with Vance and Tim Jim. And those three were also chased through Fun Jungle. Let's see if we can ban them. Yeah, drop the ban hammer. That's for sure, Zach. That'd be if they're not if they're not one of us. Yeah, maybe. Like I said, I gotta learn it. You'd think for me, being a young hip teacher, I would know all this stuff, but unfortunately, I don't. I think you guys probably know the whole video Zoom thing better than I do. I think that's the gift of being young. You're more tech savvy. But anyway, back to the recap. So we had Ben get chased by the security. Tim Jim advance also. Ben ended up using Summers and JJ McCracken's special code to go into Kazoo the Koala's exhibit because he's hiding from security. So he stayed there for a good chunk of time. Ended up falling asleep because of the eucalyptus vapors kind of made him drowsy. He was able to sneak out when everyone else left. He returned home to his family's trailer. Mom and Dad were not too happy that he was in an enclosure. You're on your school Chromebook now, Zach? That's pretty cool. Glad you're able to get it. I know you needed one, so I'm glad you got one. All right. So Ben explained what happened. His parents, they're not very happy that Marge, kind of jumped the gun and went after him. And they're also not happy about the bullying situation that's going on. And they're trying to figure out how to deal with that, how to address that. They all went to bed, and then Ben gets woken up at 5:30 in the morning. And it's a phone call from Summer. Summer basically warned him that he has to get out of his trailer right now. Says that Marge is on her way there with the local police. They intend to arrest him. And when Ben asks why, it's because Kazoo the koala has been stolen. That's our title, Poached. He's been kidnapped or koala-napped, however you want to say it. And Marge has it on good authority that it was Ben because the security feeds at Kazoo's exhibit show him entering and leaving. And Ben told his parents what was happening. They saw the headlights of Marge's security car and 3 police cars coming. Ben runs up into the woods that are just behind the trailer, and he hides in one of the cedar trees. He watches and listens. Marge questioning his parents about where he is, stating that he stole the koala. She and what was the name of that officer? He seemed like his last name was seems to very much be kind of a cowboy because he has a 10-gallon hat on. Yeah, it was Officer Stackhouse. So they searched the trailer. They didn't find Ben. Dad covered for Ben by saying, he stayed the night at a friend's house. I will look and see if I can find an address, and you guys can go find him there. And so Summer basically said, Daddy, her dad, JJ, thinks very highly of Ben. He doesn't want to believe the evidence that he actually stole the koala, but he can't deny the video footage of Teddy going in and coming out. And Marge has had a but so Marge has had this set against Teddy that it's he's the one that keeps pranking Fun Jungle. He's the one that's been the thorn in her side, and she's like a bull seeing red. She's not going to look at any other evidence. So she said, you know what this means, Teddy? You're going to have to figure out who stole Kazoo yourself, and you're going to have to do that with Marge and Fun Jungle Security and Police looking for you and wanting to arrest you. So we'll get started with Chapter 4, cleverly titled Framed, because Teddy's been framed. Absolutely not. Mom told me, you are not investigating any more crimes. But if I don't, no one else will, I protested. Marge is the law here, and all she wants to do is bust me. It was only a few minutes after Marge and the police had driven away. Dad had lied to our neighbors about what Marge had wanted and sent them all home. He also lied to Marge. He had given her a fake address in town where I supposedly spent the night, one he'd simply picked at random out of the phone book. We figured it would take a half hour for Marge to discover this and another half hour to get back. In the meantime, our trailer would be safe. Dad and I were seated at the kitchen table. Mom was making us breakfast. Although I didn't think I could eat it, my stomach was churning with anxiety. Marge will come around, Mom said, cracking eggs into a bowl. J.J. McCracken will force her to. He needs her to find that koala as soon as possible and not waste time with you. But Summer says all the evidence points toward me, I protested. What if that convinces J.J. McCracken too? What if everyone thinks that I'm the thief? Well, that's ridiculous, Mom said. We know you didn't do it. You're my parents, I argued. You're supposed to think I didn't do it. I'm going to need more proof than that to get Marge off of my case. Dad nodded. I think you're right. Jack, Mom snapped at him. I mean about Marge, Dad told her, and then turned to me. Though I agree with your mother, you shouldn't take this on yourself. Why not? I pleaded. Because the last time you investigated a crime here, you nearly got yourself killed a couple times over, Dad said. I sat back in my chair sullenly, aware that he had a point. In fact, Dad went on, this time, I suspect whoever kidnapped Kazoo knows you all too well, Teddy. Mom froze in the midst of scrambling the eggs. What do you mean by that? Seems Teddy has been framed, Dad explained. And to do that, the kidnapper must have been keeping an eye on him. He turned back to me. What's the evidence Marge has on you? Video from the security cameras, I said. Summer says they have footage of me entering the koala exhibit and leaving it last night. But no footage of you inside? Mom asked. I thought back to my phone conversation with Summer. Summer didn't mention anything about that. Mom started scrambling the eggs again. Aren't there cameras inside the koala exhibit? I'd assume so, Dad replied. There are cameras everywhere else in the park. Then there ought to be footage from inside the exhibit proving that Teddy didn't take Kazoo, Mom said. Maybe not. Dad sipped his coffee thoughtfully. If the footage existed, Marge would have seen it, wouldn't she? And more importantly, there should be footage showing that whoever actually did steal Kazoo, someone else entering and leaving the exhibit besides Teddy. So where is that? A koala napper. Man, Zach, you're having fun in those comments. None of us had an answer. I could only shrug. Mom began to soak slices of bread into the eggs and then dropped them on a griddle. Do you think someone tampered with the footage? She asked. Maybe, Dad said. Sadly, we know from experience that people at Fun Jungle Security can corrupt the cameras when they want to. During Henry the Murders investigation, we learned that his killer knew how to turn off the security systems in some exhibits. Dad grabbed a pad of paper and pencil and started to make notes for himself. I know one of the guys who works with the security system. I'll see if he can show me what they've got. Maybe somewhere in all that footage there will be a video with a real thief or something else that proves Teddy's innocence. Mom nodded approval. So you think whoever stole Kazoo was watching me last night? I asked. They must have been, Dad said. It's the only way to make the crime work. They saw you go in and out and knew you'd been recorded. Then they went in and took Kazoo. How? I asked. That is the $1,000,000 question, Dad admitted. Either they knew how to get in and out without being recorded, or they were recorded and knew how to erase the footage. I don't think there's any way to get in and out of that exhibit without being filmed, Mom said. You can't go anywhere in this park without being filmed. Then that would mean someone in security stole Kazoo, right? I asked. Who else knows how to erase the recordings? JJ McCracken might. Why would JJ steal his own koala? Mom asked. I don't know, Dad admitted. I'm just spitballing here. JJ's in Germany, I informed them. He couldn't have done it, but March could have. Was already angry at me last night. She slipped into a bunch of puke because of me. Then she followed me into Koalaville. Maybe she actually saw me inside the exhibit, and then after I left, she came back and took Kazoo, knowing she could frame me for the crime. Mom and Dad chewed on that for a while. I suppose that makes sense, Mom said. Only I have a hard time believing Marge would do all that just to get you in trouble. Why not? I asked. She said I ought to be shipped off to juvenile hall plenty of times. Now she's found a way to make it happen. Mom and Dad shared a look. It makes as much sense as anything else we've got, Dad said. Though it also brings up the main issue that we haven't discussed yet. Why would someone want to steal Kazoo? Marge called it kidnapping. Mom slid the plates full of French toast in front of us and uncapped a bottle of syrup. If it's a kidnapping, where's the ransom note? Dad asked. Maybe it hasn't been delivered yet, Mom replied. It's still awfully early in the morning. I thought kidnappers always left notes at the crime scene, Dad said. Since when are you an expert on kidnapping? Mom teased. I'm not, Dad told her, but I know as much about koala napping as anyone else, seeing as this is probably the first case there's ever been. There's also the possibility that there won't be a ransom note at all, Mom suggested. Someone might simply want a koala. You mean as a pet? I asked. Yes, Mom said. You're not eating your French toast. I want to, I said, but my stomach's all jumpy. Mom gave me a sad smile and tousled my hair. I understand, given the circumstances, but I'd been unfairly accused of a crime. My stomach would be jumpy too. Who would want a pet koala? I asked. Lots of people probably think they do, Mom said. Look at the crowds who have been coming to see Kazoo. To most of those people, koalas probably look like the perfect pet. They're adorable, and yet they just sleep all day. But they're not easy to take care of, I countered. Not at all, Mom agreed. But not everyone knows that. And even if they do, they still might want one, Dad put in. There are far more owners of exotic pets than anyone realizes, especially around here. Did you know there are more tigers in captivity in Texas than wild tigers in the entire world? I looked at him surprised. As pets? Dad nodded. And that's just tigers. People also have lions, leopards, bears, chimps, zebras, who knows what else. Maybe one of those collectors was dying to have a koala. Is there anyone like that around here? I asked. I think there is, Mom said thoughtfully. I remember hearing that too. Dad jotted down another note to himself. I'll have to find out the name. Of Back when I worked at the Bronx Zoo, regular people occasionally broke in and tried to steal the animals. No one ever succeeded, but they tried. It wasn't common, but it wasn't rare either. Now, the zoo is right in the middle of New York City. There are a couple million people living around it, so you'd expect that sooner or later a few of them are going to do something stupid. I'd hoped that being out here in the sticks, we'd have a bit less crime. But we all know that hasn't been the case so far. Sad fact is, there are probably a lot of people out there dumb enough to try to steal a koala. But the person who did this wasn't dumb, were they? I asked. I mean, they figured out how to get around all the cameras and frame me. True, Mom admitted. The person who stole Kazoo was clever. I just meant that the motive itself was dumb. She shook her head sadly, as she often did when she talked about how badly people could behave. Then she looked at my plate. Still not hungry? I still hadn't touched my French toast. Sorry, it smells great, but Mom put a comforting hand on mine. No need to apologize. I get it. No need for it to go to waste. Dad reached across the table, speared my slab of French toast with his fork, and then moved it to his plate and dug in. A thought suddenly occurred to me. What if Kazoo wasn't stolen at all? Is there any chance he could have just escaped? Mom considered this for a moment, then shook her head. Koalas don't like the cold, and it was freezing last night. Kazoo's exhibit is nice and warm, and he had plenty of food and water there. Even if someone left the door of his exhibit wide open, I doubt he would have ventured outside. Plus, koalas aren't exactly the most adventurous creatures, Dad added. I never heard of one escaping from anywhere before. And from what I could tell, the exhibit was built pretty well. I don't think there's any way Kazoo could have gotten out on his own. You're sure about that? I asked. Not completely. Dad made another note on his pad. I could check it out, though. I'm pretty sure it's a dead end. Mom glanced at her watch, trying not to look nervous. It won't be long before Marge and the police realize that they've been had. Then they'll probably come right back here, and I doubt they'll be happy. That means you best not be here, kiddo. I've got to go to school, I said. Mom and Dad shared another look, then both shook their heads. Not today, you don't, Dad said. After here, that's the next place they'll come looking for you. I failed to stifle a smile. Guess there's one good thing about being framed for a crime. This is only temporary, Mom told me, and if I felt we could trust Marge to lay off of you and hunt for the real thief, we wouldn't even be doing it. But Marge has a real bug up her bottom that where you're concerned. So for now, you're going into hiding. Where? I asked. The one place they'll never think to look for you, Dad said. Chapter 5, Scene of the Crime. I spent the day hiding out at Fun Jungle. That might seem odd, seeing as I was a wanted criminal there, but I knew Fun Jungle from end to end better than any of the security guards did. Plus, I didn't really have anywhere else to go. My parents hadn't put roots down in Texas. They had no family there, and all of their friends worked at the park. My only close friend was Xavier Gonzalez, and I still didn't know his family well enough to ask if they could help me lie low from the police. I had only met them twice. If it had been a bit warmer, I could have hung out in the woods near our trailer all day, but it was frigid and windy, and Mom said she didn't want me to die of pneumonia. So, Fun Jungle it was. We had to take some precautions, though. For example, I couldn't just go through the back gate as usual. That was staffed by Fun Jungle security, and Marge had put out on all the points bulletin for me. Instead, I walked right in through the main entrance. There were security personnel posted there, but they just searched through the guests' bags to make sure that no one was bringing in anything dangerous into the park, like weapons or fireworks. They weren't really part of Marge's platoon of guards, and they were so focused on everyone's belongings, they rarely looked at anybody's faces. Marge hadn't most likely assumed would come through the front gate. However, all park employees got a few free passes every year. Technically, this counted as bonus pay, Although Dad ostensibly for park to the front gates, Dad went with me, though we split up in the main school kids. Another part of J.J. McCracken's plan to increase attendance at Fun Jungle was to offer big discounts to schools, which also allowed the PR department to was a major supporter of education. On this particular morning, there were a dozen yellow buses discharging students at the front gates. Given the cold weather, half the kids had pulled their hoods of their jackets up over their heads. So I did the same. Since I didn't have a bag with me, the bag checkers waved me past without even a glance. I was through the front gates in less than a minute. I kept the hood on and joined back up with Dad by the Fun Jungle Friends Theater. This had been Henry and Pal's Theater back when Henry the Hippo had been alive, but Fun Jungle had renamed it for obvious reasons. Dad had hoped to leave me with Mom in her office all day, but when we got close to Monkey Mountain, we saw several of Marge's minions posted by the doors. Looks like the heat is on, Dad sighed. Marge must have realized by now that we sent her on a wild goose chase. Guess you're spending the day with me. I can't, I said. You have to see your friend about the security recordings, and that's inside the administration building. Admin has more security than any other building at Fun Jungle. Dad frowned. I can't just leave you alone. I'll be fine, I said. Besides, I'm probably easier to spot with you than without. How's that? This place is crawling with school-age kids today, I explained. If I stay close to a school group, no one will look twice at me. But if I'm only with you, we'll stand out. And if security knows to look for me, they'll probably be looking for you, too. Dad waffled a few moments, but he ultimately realized that I was right. Your mother's probably going to kill me for this, he sighed. Be careful, this is a big park. It shouldn't be too hard for you to keep some distance from the guards. And you're right about the school kids. Try to blend in with them if you can. He pointed toward a large, rowdy crowd of students my age gathered close by. Will do, I said. I'll be in touch the moment I'm done, Dad told me. It shouldn't be too long. We split up, although Dad kept looking back to make sure I was okay. It was kind of silly, but I appreciated it anyhow. I dropped in at the rear of a school group. No one noticed I didn't belong. The parents, chaperones, and teachers had their hands full with the rest of the class. The students were so excited to be at Fun Jungle that the groups of them kept racing off to see all the different animals. The adults were so busy trying to wrangle the rogues that they were thrilled to see anyone actually staying with the group. Eventually, after several demands that everyone settle down and a few threats, if anyone else wanders off, they will spend the rest of the day on the bus. The class headed into the park. What should we see first? The teacher asked. The koala! Almost everyone shouted at once. A few boys tried to argue for either Carnivore Canyon or World of Reptiles, but they were quickly overruled, and the teachers and chaperones seemed just as eager to see the kazoo as the kids did. The class eagerly veered toward the land down under. I stayed with them. I knew my parents wouldn't have been pleased I was heading back to the scene of the crime, but I had a couple of reasons for sticking with the school group besides safety and numbers. First, something strange was going on. If the entire field trip was so excited to go see Kazoo, that meant no one knew that Kazoo wasn't on display. Kazoo's kidnapping should have been the top story on the local news. Fun Jungle dominated the press in Central Texas. When the park so much as considered changing the ticket prices, it would make the front page of the paper. It seemed unlikely that a whole class, including teachers and chaperones, could have missed the news. The only way no one could have known Kazoo was missing was if Fun Jungle hadn't revealed it yet. However, I couldn't imagine how anyone at Fun Jungle thought they could get away with that. Second, I wanted to do some snooping myself. Summer's words kept coming to me. If I don't try to find Kazoo's kidnapper, no one would. Perhaps J.J. McCracken could get Marge to back off of me for a bit, but if Marge truly believed I was the culprit, she wasn't going to look anywhere else. As proof of this, there wasn't a single security guard anywhere near Koalaville. If there had been, I would have kept my distance. In fact, there didn't seem to be anything to indicate that Kazoo's habitat was a crime scene. To my surprise, the exhibit looked exactly the same as it always did. There was no crime tape blocking it off, or more to Fun Jungle's PR-minded style, signs claiming the exhibit was closed for renovations to enhance your Fun Jungle experience. Instead, there was actually a line of tourists snaking out the door. It was all rather eerie. For a moment, I found myself wondering if I had merely dreamed the whole thing about Kazoo being stolen. My class excitedly my class excitedly headed toward the koala exhibit, but as they did, Freddie Malloy leapt into their path. Freddie was the closest thing we had to a human celebrity at Fun Jungle, which wasn't saying very much. He had started out as an actor in Fun Jungle's Friends review, playing the evil land developer Barren Wasteland, who was the villain of the show. However, he aspired to be more and eventually convinced the administration to let him host a show he cooked up called The World's Most Deadly Animals. According to my father, the show might have worked out if Freddy had done what he had promised, which was to present a few dangerous animals, like tigers, cobras, and Komodo dragons, and teach the audience about them. But Freddy had been far more interested in promoting himself, hoping to attract a TV network and score his own reality show. Therefore, he kept provoking the animals so they'd be more exciting. He never hurt them, but he'd invade their personal space, make direct eye contact, and do other things that they found threatening. Then they'd lunge or snap at him, and Freddy would leap away, and the audience would gasp in excitement. In theory. Unfortunately, Freddy sometimes lost his focus on the animals, which resulted in him losing other things, like fingers. A Gelda baboon had bitten one off, while the Komodo dragon was responsible for the other. He also lost an earlobe, thanks to an ocelot, a toe. But many of the audience members had freaked out. They had fainted, vomited, and stampeded for the exits, and those were the adults. Most of the kids had thought seeing a man lose a finger was pretty cool, but many parents had threatened lawsuits against Fun Jungle anyhow, claiming their children had been traumatized. Fun Jungle had shut the world's most deadly animals down and set Freddy back to being barren wasteland. Freddy was devastated by the demotion. Ever since, he'd been ambushing tourist groups in hopes of being recognized. "Hey kids!" he shouted to the school group. "How's everyone doing today?" Not a single kid responded, although the teacher gasped in fright at the sight of Freddy. Close up, the patchwork of scars in his face could be a little disconcerting. Freddy was obviously disappointed, but he soldiered on valiantly. "I could understand your reserve. It's not every day you get to meet a real celebrity. But you don't all have to be so shy around me. I don't bite, although some of the animals I work with do." At this, Freddy held up the hand that was missing two fingers. The joke had never been that good when Freddy used it on stage. Here, it was even worse. The sudden reveal that his hand was made several kids scream in terror. One boy now actually recognized Freddy, however. "Hey!" he exclaimed. "You're the crazy guy who gets attacked by animals all the time." Yes," Freddy said, then whipped out some glossy photographs of himself. "Would you like an autograph?" "No," the boy said. "I want to see Kazoo." The rest of the class eagerly echoed this, and the teacher quickly let us past Freddy, who sagged with disappointment. I almost felt bad for the guy. But then I remember my father saying that Fun Jungle had done Freddy a favor by closing his show. If they hadn't, he probably would have provoked an animal into biting his head off by now. The school group hurried into the koala line. From inside the exhibit, I dispensing her standard koala facts over the loudspeaker. A newborn koala is only the size of a jelly bean. Though I was desperate to get in and see what on earth was going on with Kazoo, I stayed at the rear of the class. A dozen kids were arguing over who got to be first, drawing the attention of all the chaperones, and I figured it was safer to remain off of their radar. An excited young couple in matching Kazoo t-shirts joined the line behind us. They seemed to be in in their mid-20s and were so excited that they couldn't stay still. "You here to see the koala?" the woman asked me, as if there had been another reason I was standing in the koala line. "Yeah," I said. "Us too," the man exclaimed, as if this was the most incredible of coincidences. "We're so excited, we've never seen a koala before, except all the way from Oklahoma City." "Just to see Kazoo?" I asked. "And the rest of Fun Jungle, of course," the man said. "But Kazoo was the kicker. It's our honeymoon." "Wow," I said. "Congratulations." "Thanks," the bride chirped. "We really wanted to go to Australia to see wild koalas, but the plane tickets there were crazy expensive. And then Fun Jungle got Kazoo and started offering all these deals. We're staying at the Fun Jungle Caribbean Resort for half." That was actually the promotional line, the commercials. We drove down right after our wedding. We only got here last night. The resort gave us a free bottle of champagne on the account of us just getting hitched. And now we're about to see Kazoo, our first real koala. I am so excited. I didn't know what to say. These two amped up newlyweds were going to be devastated when the Kazoo was gone. Their honeymoon would be ruined. Stationed at the door of the exhibit, his job was to wave people in once there was room for them so that the viewing area didn't get too crowded. He was only probably just out of high school, and people still paid attention to him. He waved my eyes. There was a koala in the exhibit. It was difficult to see since it was tucked into the crook of one of the eucalyptus trees in the very back. And as usual, it was asleep. I couldn't even see its face, as its head was tucked down between its arms, like a student who had fallen asleep at his desk in math class. Its big, fuzzy ears poked out, however, which was enough to trigger squeals of delight from the schoolgirls. The kids all crowded around the viewing windows, pressing up their noses against the glass. "Oh, Nazi's sleeping," one of the boys said, and many of the other kids echoed his disappointment. "Let's wake him up," another boy suggested. Then, despite the "please do not bang on the glass" sign posted right over his head, he began banging on the glass. Thankfully, the teacher swooped in and grabbed the kid's wrist after only a few seconds. "Roscoe, if you behave yourself, don't behave yourself, you'll have to wait outside," she hissed. "So what?" Roscoe said. "The koala's not doing anything anyhow." Kazoo hadn't so much as flinched at the sound of his glass being banged on, but that wasn't unusual. A bomb could have gone off in the room, and Kazoo probably would have slept through it. Christy Sullivan was in her usual spot, perched on a small podium, rattling off facts as though nothing were unusual. "The baby koala begins its life by consuming only the mother's milk," she was saying. "But after a few months, it begins to eat pap, which is actually a special form of the mother's feces." Several of the kids squealed with disgust. "I know that sounds terrible," Christy told them, "but it's really a wonderful way for the mother to pass on the microorganisms that will allow her baby to digest eucalyptus leaves." I kept my jacket hood up and my back to Christy so that she wouldn't recognize me. Then I pressed my own nose against the glass, staring at the koala, wondering how he could possibly still be in there. And if he was, how could I be in trouble for stealing him? I stared at the white tufts of the kazoo's ears, trying to make sense of everything. And suddenly, I realized exactly what was going on. Someone shrieked behind me, and I spun around, startled to find out it was only the new bride. She and her husband had just been allowed into the viewing room, and she couldn't control her excitement. "It's him!" she said. "It's Kazoo! Get a picture, honey!" "I'm already on it," the groom replied. He had his digital camera out and firing away. "He's so cute," the bride said. "Isn't he the most adorable thing? I want one." "Me too," the husband agreed. "A pet koala. How awesome would that be?" I started to turn back to the glass, but I wasn't fast enough. The bride had spotted me and rushed over. Could you take a picture of us? She asked. I considered saying no, as I didn't want to attract any attention, and the bride and groom were magnets for it. Since the koala wasn't actually doing anything, lots of people were now watching the newlyweds and assumed by their over-the-top enthusiasm. But the bride looked so excited, I couldn't bring myself to turn her down. Absolutely adorable Kazoo was. Look at those ears and that nose. He's so cute. I just want to eat him up. This drew Christie's attention. She swiveled our way. You're not alone in finding him lovable, she said. Humans have large eyes, large ears, large noses. We find our own human babies cute because they have these features. And koalas have them too. Christy kept looking our way, so I kept the camera. A couple pictures, I said, so I could have an excuse to keep the camera up to make sure I get a good one. Why, thank you, the bride said. What a chivalrous young gentleman. This attraction to cuteness is actually a very important human trait, Christy went on. When we think something is cute, we have an innate desire to take care of it. As we all know, babies need a great deal of care, so when you find a koala adorable, it's such great parents. I had now snapped more than a dozen pictures. The groom was beginning to get suspicious, as though he thought I might be plotting to now correcting some tourists who mistakenly believed that koalas were from Austria. Have a great honeymoon, I told him, and then hurried off for the exit. I'd seen all I needed to, and now I needed to get out of the Koalaville while I could. I scurried past Christie's podium, where she was explaining native eucalyptus for koalas to eat, whereas Austria is cold, mountainous country in Central Europe. Unfortunately, the exit was blocked. A tourist family was trying to drag their daughter out, and she was digging her heels in. I don't want to go, she cried. Kazoo hasn't done anything yet. We've been watching him for an hour, her frazzled father pleaded. He's sleeping. Plus, let's go get something, go see some animals that actually move. Like monkeys, her desperate mother added. You love monkeys, and they move all the time. No, the little girl demanded. I want to stay here. Kazoo's going to wake up soon. I know it. I wouldn't bet on it, I thought. We'll come back later, her father said. I promise, but for Pete's sake, let's leave Koalaville. He tried to pull his daughter away, but she clamped on the door frame with both hands and wouldn't let go. Guys, don't be like this girl. Don't be like this. That's not how you behave, especially out in public. I squeezed past them and finally got outside again. After the heat of the crush of humanity inside the exhibit, the chill air and empty walkways felt wonderful. But before I could take another step, however, someone grabbed my jacket from behind. The hood came off of my head, revealing me to the world. Not so fast, Teddy, Christy Sullivan said. We need to talk. All right, guys. I'm going to stop there today. Gave you your 2 chapters. I wonder what Christy Sullivan wants to talk to Ben about. I'm sure it has something to do with that koala, though. You're so bored, Zach. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. But why don't you guys think about that? Make some predictions about what Christy could be cooking up. I will, of course, do another read aloud on Monday as we get started with our distance learning. Keep checking Dojo as I'll start posting short video lessons and finalize the schedule of when I'll have office hours. If students or families need assistance from me, that I will make myself available. So be sure to keep an eye out on Dojo for that. Students, if you haven't checked in on Dojo to create your student accounts, now would be a good time to do that. That's this. Okay, I get that. That figured out, so we could at least do one Zoom thing. That way we can have a chance to talk. We'll do that. All right. So I'm going to sign off now. I will see you guys on Monday. You guys have a great weekend. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Have fun out in the snow.